this would happen.
Yeah, it was
So
dicey. It was up in the air. One of our racers, Kongcakes, was affected by Hurricane Matthew, so that put scheduling into disarray a bit. But we were able to make it happen this week. Ooh, does he not have his sound on? Huh. That stinks. All right. Well, back to generic music, I guess, for the moment. We'll ping him and we'll get it sorted between matches.
oh, is Toad using a mic?
I believe he is. I will. We'll give it a shot. Why not?
Oh yeah, he is.
He usually does. Where is music?
Yeah, so both these guys are going cut first.
Yeah, as you'd expect. I mean, you know. Oh.
So I think Kong bumped the save state,
Oh.
and so he's gonna be starting over. Oh man, I don't know if we've seen that happen yet or not in the tournament. That might be the first time. I'm not sure. So starting over.
I hate to see that.
Kind of lucky he did it so early on, to be honest. Cause
I'm not sure that he got rid of save states in that reset though, so he's gonna have to hope he doesn't do that again by accident.
he menued for it. I didn't.
Oh,
see
did
if
he? Okay,
actually-
all right.
Yeah, he did switch over into the menu for it. I just didn't see if he actually got like hit it over to no.
Yeah, we'll
Hopefully.
see. Yeah, that goes. It cost him, goodness, like over a minute. It looked like.
Yeah, it looked like about a minute there when he was getting back into the game. So kind of an unfortunate start there.
And the silver lining here, of course, is that obviously here in our first stage of the 46 Robot Master race, a lot to go still, so plenty of time to be made up. But always a bummer to start on a down note like that. And that's an odd down note too. Not even anything wrong with the gameplay, just a mechanical issue with hitting that save state by accident.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Toad, by virtue of not having enacted a save state by accident, onto Cutman. No problem for him here.
Is getting a couple jumps, but it's alright.
Yeah.
Toad's pretty established in Mega Man 1 and 2, so I don't think we're going to see too many issues for him in these first couple games.
No, I suspect not. And I saw that he was doing a little bit of practice, I want to say yesterday or maybe the day before. So, to see what sort of rust he's kicked off with this. I know he came into this tournament without, like, doing too terribly much practice, but he does have a 148 PB. So somewhere between that PB and whatever de-rusting he's done, he's going to kind of probably meet in the middle. You know, it's Toad, so we kind of default to great expectations as Kong is taking on Cutman after that unfortunate use of a save state early on, but he reset and he's back in it. And hopefully he'll avoid that going forward. Takes down Cutman, no problem. Little jump in there as well, but no big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty much your standard fight when you get him pinned in the corner there on the right. Oof, Toad almost looked like he missed the Yoku block jump there. Oh, he does miss his corner jump though.
So that'll give Kongcakes a little bit of an opportunity to get back in. Costs about 12 seconds, I believe, to miss that corner jump and fall down. Gets it the second time though, so not too shabby.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. It's a tough one. Like we mentioned multiple times now with how many races we've had about how that jump in particular compared to a lot of the other corner jumps is just a little more tricky because you have those ammo pellets in your way, and even if you're on Buster, they still slow you up, so it can be kind of hard to time your jump. Toad going for beam first, gets on into the wall on his second try, inches out very carefully, and he went for the jump actually to get the high exit, but just missed it, so ends up going back to the bottom route. Elect stage is the longest stage in Mega Man 1, mostly due to the vertical climbing.
Oh, I'm trying to jump at the top of that ladder there and doing it a hair too early and end up falling down instead.
Oh,
Always a
Yeah.
frustrating turn of events when that happens, because you want to jump when you reach the top of the ladders just to get your momentum going a little bit faster than walking. But yeah, you hit it too early and you're losing time.
Yeah, actually, he did that in cut as well, so maybe timing's just a little bit off at the moment. But
It's just a little bit different in Mega Man 1 than in Mega Man 2. That I'm not sure which I would say is Kong's best game. I know he likes 4 a whole lot, but I don't know if that would necessarily be one he's best at. It looks like he's actually trying to maybe go for that top exit, but doesn't quite know the mechanics of it. Ends up getting back down, and he's all right.
yeah, it'd be a scary thing to go for, not knowing it too, because you would hate to like accidentally get yourself put into Mega Jail
Right.
halfway through the trick. So, but yeah, he just elects to go back to the bottom too, so it's fine.
Speaking of electing, Electman down for Toad. He'll be on to Iceman in just a moment here.
Kong has the beam. He's not really using it yet. Almost gets knocked down there. That could have been kind of scary. Actually, even just refresh these guys just a hair, because I think I'm a little bit behind you and on
Okay.
Kong's stream.
So we have Toad using his Magnet Beam to go up and over this water. Water in Mega Man 1 slows you down and doesn't really give you the added benefit of big high jumps. So it's very nice to be able to go right over that water, save yourself a little time. Walking across the Magnet Beam as well saves you a little bit of time in your traversal in Mega Man 1. So we see Toad getting the zip right away.
Yeah, first try.
Looked like he might be sub-pixel there for a moment, but gets the jump, no problem. And we're going to see him collect this. Oh, maybe not. I think he's just going to... Oh, no, he fooled me. I thought he was going to forego the pickup and just go without trying to zip, but we're going to see this zip attempt at the end of this screen. Once it plays... Oh,
Yeah.
it's just a pixel too high, and he decides, not worth the time. We're just going to go.
From what I understand, the like even though you lose time to stop in the middle to pick up the ammo, the amount of time you save with it, you end up saving 2 seconds by picking up that ammo. So it's yeah, obviously, if you can do all the zips, it's definitely worth grabbing it.
Oh, and that looked like a double quarter zip. He gets the one, though.
Ooh.
Kong is
He's into ice.
teleporting into ice. As Toad takes down Iceman. About a stage
pretty-
separating these two in the early goings.
Pretty easy boss fight, Ice, once you know how to use the select button.
Absolutely. One of the great tricks that you have available to you in Mega Man 1 is that select pause glitch, where you can just buffer those hits on top of bosses. It's very, very useful throughout, and you'll see that used on basically every boss from here on. Potentially not on Bomb Man, but you can certainly benefit there as well.
Mm-hmm. Kong tries to get the wrap a
Oh,
few
yeah.
times and then elects to skip it.
Yeah, you'd hate to run out of your magnet beam before doing the Yoku blocks. If that's the case, then not only are you going to have really scary times going over the moving platform section over that big open set of pits, but you know, these Yoku blocks are some of the more mean throughout the Mega Man series. People seem to really have trouble with those. So you see Kong now definitely going to get that refill. Had the 2 requisite left to get over to the middle. He's on this platform, and he is going to be up and over with his additional magnet beams, no problem. Here comes the fire zip for Toad.
Nice setup there, very fast on the ladder.
Oh, and he gets the little hallway zip there. Just for good measure.
Kong not electing to go for any of these corridor zips. They're not easy to set up. Like every zip in Mega Man 1 is pixel perfect. You got to get that beam on the exact spot
Right.
to make them work. So he just decides, instead of trying to waste time to go for them, just to skip them completely.
And it's a race of fire and ice as both Fireman and Iceman go down in short succession to one another. Staying about a stage apart still.
Yeah, I don't think... I mean, assuming that these guys stay sort of on pace, I mean, I don't think we're going to see too much huge separation here. I mean, the only reason we're seeing as much as we are right now is because of that start unfortunate save state load at the beginning. But we'll see. There's still a few more levels yet for these guys to get through before. Like we mentioned, the select button being useful on bosses. It's, as you can see, Toad here taking hits. It's also useful throughout the stages, because if you hit select after taking damage, it will reset your knockback, so you start moving forward like immediately. So you'll see when they take damage on enemies, like they'll purposely hit select really fast to like counteract that knockback.
And I would see how Toad approaches this zip here. Got the right side option there. It looks like he's going to go for it. Oh, jumps and grabs that ladder from below. Did not intend to do that there.
Yeah, you do have to be careful of those screen wraps. As good as they are for some spots, they're definitely not good in others. So
he gets it that second time with the right side entry as well. So a little bit more of a technical maneuver than using the ladder on the left side, which you can just kind of eye up by the ladder rung. Nice little display there by Toad.
Kong taking a few hits here, is going through that fire hallway.
And again, we see both Robot Masters going down almost in sync. Just one stage separating them.
Yeah, Bomb, I would say, is probably a little bit shorter stage than Fire.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it's a little bit shorter. So, probably about the same, still, distance apart. And since these guys did go cut first, they're rewarded for their gut stage, because they'll have the Magnet Beam, which will make this stage quite a bit faster. To see Toad going right over top of this really long section with all the risky platform jumps. Won't have to wait for anything, he'll just go.
We see Toad again going for that. Oh, it looked like it was about 1 pixel too high and then 1 pixel too low. And a little lower still.
Yep. Yeah.
You do save a nominal amount of time walking across the Magnet Beam, so all is not lost when you do that attempt, but, you know, it's not what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you're going to go for the zips and you shoot it just a little low, at least you can still skip the Mets by not needing to take damage. Getting a little unlucky here from Gutsman in his pattern, but he does get the ass grab, so very nice. So Toad into Mega Man 2. Starting with Flash, as always. Nothing really to say a whole lot about this stage other than ice physics, so if you are going to take a hit, you want to sort of be jumping so that you don't have that knockback continue to pull you back. So here, you see with this little walker, makes sure that he jumps as soon as he can out of that damage.
A very easy stage to start off with. No death pits, no spikes, no chicanery like that. In Rockman 2, of course, you have to watch a little bit out for taking too much damage, because by having to do 14 hits on Flashman as opposed to 7, a little bit extra chance that he might get a couple hits in on you and take you down. But besides that, pretty much the same. You know, no big deal there. You saw that tin can stack you have to hit twice to get rid of. Toad hitting him once and just jumping past the cans that fall apart. and making his way on through the stage, and now into Flashman's room.
Yeah, let's see how this fight goes, because, yeah, this can be a really, really good-looking fight when done correctly.
Oh, yeah. It's, not to be punny about it, but it is a flashy fight when you do it correctly.
Oh, he almost got it. He almost had a really good fight there.
He either got 12 or 13 hits. I didn't see if it was 1 or 2 hits that he got after the flash, but yeah, a really excellent job out of Toad.
It's really interesting to like how after like about half of the hits there, you kind of like go underneath Flashman as he jumps over you. It's kind of neat. It's a pretty tight timing thing. It's already a stage into Mega Man 2 for him, as Kong finishing up 1.
Oh, and it looked like Gutsman was going to cooperate, but I don't know if he didn't select at the right time or what. It only got 2 hits instead of 3 on that first bomb, so we'll get the second one out, and then there he goes. On to Mega Man 2.
I wonder if it's almost maybe just unpaused too early.
Could have
Maybe
been,
he was
yeah.
still in iframes, I think. Because, yeah, he definitely got 2 hits and the bomb was still on screen. So... so both runners into Mega Man 2 now. I'm sure Kong will be playing probably normal.
Toad is definitely playing on normal Mega Man 2. Prefers to save his time in the boss fights rather than on the cutscenes. Feels that's a little bit better suited to his abilities.
Yeah, so Toad will gain some time on Kong for that, but that's alright. Makes it a lot easier, like you said, with the boss fights and everything, so it's not necessarily a bad choice. If you can't execute like the harder fights like that flash fight and stuff, it's not a bad option.
So we saw right there, Kong kind of getting stuck on the edge of that platform with the stomper. It looked like just an input loss happened. I'm not exactly sure why, but he got a double hit from that stomper, and his health is a little bit lower than he'd like at this point. Should be fine, only having to get 7 hits on flash, but you never know what might happen.
Mm-hmm. There's also, if he wants, we'll see if he takes it, but there's
that E-Tank
there. And then there's an E-Tank.
Oh, that's right, there's that health before that one stomper.
But he's skipping the health, so we'll see if he grabs the E-Tank or not.
Yeah, he should be okay. Well, great, I just ruined it, didn't I? But
we'll see.
In theory, he has enough health to do this, but, you know.
On normal, if you execute the fight correctly, you should be able to do it without taking hit.
Right.
So, we'll see.
And we see
He
Toad...
can still take a couple hits as well, so
yes. Oh, no problem. See, look at that. There's no such thing as a commentator's curse. Everything was fine.
Never. Look at perfect fight.
Toad playing the Heat Man fight very safe, without like going completely too safe. You know, he's building up a little buffer to not have to worry about getting those jumps perfectly timed, but still saving a little bit of time by not going entirely across the screen. Puts Heat Man down. And it'll be on to air and some fast air action.
Yeah, that much longer Heat Man fight for Rockman 2, but so Kong is off to Heat. Toad will be off to air. So we'll see how these stages go. We didn't really talk too much about it when Toad was in the stage, but Heat's the first place you're going to see the zip. Mega Man 2 is sort of routed in a way. It's routed in a way that you like get the items first so that you can use them for zipping. And then also for like where you see Toad here, he's about to start doing fast air. Going across this really long open pit with the item 1s. Doing the really easy version, taking the damage boosts. That's pretty much the safest way to do it. We call that granny air.
Effective though. The only problem I find on Rockman 2 is that his health actually okay, assuming that he can get his shots in and not get too trolled by Airman's bad patterns. Anything less, and you'd start to try to find some health, which, of course, in Rockman 2 is very much less likely to drop than in Mega Man 2. Of course, as soon as I say that, a little health drops for Toad, and now he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's nice to have that as a backup, just in case, like you said, because of the way Rockman 2's fight goes sometimes, it's nice to have that just in case you get a 3 cycle. You know, ideally, obviously, you still defeat air in 2 cycles, but it's still a real possibility, so.
Right.
So if he does get hit a 3rd time, he'll have 4 health left now because he got another little drop at the end of the stage, so. We'll see, though. This is kind of a tricky fight. It's really dependent on air's pattern. It's an okay pattern to start, and another pretty good one.
Yeah, that went just fine.
All right. Yeah, that was a pretty good pattern. He did still get the jump across, but
survival a little bit more important than the fastest pattern in this tournament, of course.
Yeah, that's something that we've seen some runners do, like cut out a lot of like the really small time savers that are more difficult to pull off, and just go for the more consistent strats. Like we've seen, you know, guys who are, you know, typically more risky and go for a lot of the more difficult things end up with slower average times to people who go with the safer strats. So when we get into the bracket play after this race, and when we get into sort of like where it's, you know, it's a single elimination, so it's going to be interesting to see how risky people play, because, you know, one bad race, you know, by failing something, and it could be over. Ooh. Toad just not quite getting the biggie set up here in Clash. So has to do the second screen setup for the Clashman zip.
Meanwhile, you see Kongcakes setting up for some fast air. I believe I've seen him opt against fast air at different times, but you see him do that alternate setup where he takes the hit from the enemy that pops out of the drill fan, just so he doesn't have to worry about, I guess, that knockback from the first Lightning Lord, although you can use that to your benefit, in fact. But gets through, no problem. And his health is just about where Toad's was at, but by virtue of this being Mega Man 2 as opposed to Rockman 2, only has to get 7 hits on Airman, so health much less of a concern as a result.
Switching back to Buster here, because he didn't quite get the manipulation for the birds, so
right.
Just making sure he doesn't take any more extra damage there. And wants to go back to item 1 just to play the rest of these jumps safe. Meanwhile, Toad going through the second half of Clashman stage. The climb section is, again, kind of slow like Mega Man 1, but you use your items to your benefit to try to get as much jumping time as possible so that you can avoid as much of the climb as you can.
Oh, and there's a big health pickup for Kong. Did not need it, but he got it, and now health
another one
issue.
Toad getting sort of an unlucky pattern from Clashman. Has to hit him with 3 separate shots, but gets him down, so no real big issues here. Ooh, Kong having a little bit of issues here with air, but there he gets around that 3rd cycle. Gets him right as he's about to jump. Toad's not going for the 1-up, so he has faith in himself to execute everything perfectly and not take any extra deaths. We've seen a lot of runners pick that 1-up at the beginning of quick stage, pick it up just as safety. There's another one in the fall of the second half of the quick lasers you can grab as well, but I think we've only seen a couple people try to grab that one.
Yo, right here. I actually had a death on this stage during the beam section, so I had to get it, so I had to do Goodwood later. But yeah, you don't see that one as a typical choice, but it's more of a backup. And after this stage, I mean, you're unless you have some misfortune trying to go for the dog scroll to set up the Goodwood, you're really not likely to have any deaths. I mean, metal stage, you'd have to really make a kind of an unexpected mistake. There are expected mistakes, or potential mistakes, and then off the wall, how did this even happen mistakes. And at this level, you know, Toad's discounting those off-the-wall possibilities. He's just trying to stay within himself, and you know, his skill set being what it is. You know, we see him going for the zip in the dark there that could cause a soft lock, but no problem. Gets the wiggle, gets the gate crash, And
he even went with a little bit riskier wiggle setup.
Yes,
There's a way you can wiggle where you can guarantee you'll only wiggle one tile at a time. And like his last wiggle there, he went 2 tiles. He was just sort of fortunate he was already 2 tiles from the door, so it kind of worked out. Kind of a bit risky there, but
it's only risky if it doesn't work.
He gets his quick kill, so. Quick stage is pretty short, especially with the zips, so there's not usually a ton of places to lose time, unless you're going to take a death on the actual beams themselves, so. And same with metal, too, so it always appears like some of the runners gain quite a bit of ground, especially like for right now with Kong being in Crash, it's a longer stage, so. It can appear worse sometimes than it actually is. Ooh, Toad having some issues setting up the zip. Gets it on the 3rd try. Thankfully, item 1 usage isn't too bad for this stage. You usually have extra, so. Let's see if he goes for this really short one.
Yeah, decides against it and is just gonna click on over to his item 2 here and ride over top of all of these enemies.
We've seen a lot of people actually skip that zip. It's not a big time save. It only saves about half a second, but it's interesting. Like a lot of people that usually do it, even in normal RTA attempts, have been skipping it.
Yeah, I know there's some risk if you do the insta trigger that you could soft lock. So I don't know how much that's playing in. I assume quite a bit, but yeah, you know, if you feel like you're gonna miss the setup, then you're just shaving away that time anyway. So. You know, whatever. It's like you say, it's only a half-second gain if you get it, so it's probably not worth it to a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Metal Man goes down. Very easy kill with holding B down. Get 5 hits in for free as long as you don't get too close. On Rockman 2 anyway. Get all 4 hits in on Mega Man 2, so doesn't even move in that fight. We'll see that in a little bit for Kong, as he's making his way down after getting the 1-up in Quickman stage, as Toad is beginning Woodman.
And we've seen Toad go for dog scrolls pretty common in Wood stage, so we'll see if he does that here as well.
That's right.
Haven't seen too many runners go for it, but...
Oh, but there we see he switches to Flash. A
yeah.
wise decision, I think. The risk is so much less. Like, it's nil, in fact. Worst case scenario, you have to kill an extra dog, but he gets the mini zip. No problem there, and he will go past the 3rd dog and begin his good wood.
Yeah, interesting choice. Even in the relay, I think last time he went from, but I guess if he hasn't been playing the game much, maybe he's not comfortable going for something he hasn't practiced a ton.
Yeah, that may be.
Kong taking a few bonks from these Sniper Joe walkers, but he should still be fine as long as Quick doesn't give him a really ugly pattern. Thankfully on normal, Quick only takes 4 hits, so...
Oh!
Although, this is looking a little scary.
Yeah, it didn't go so well that time. You know what did go well, though? That Goodwood, though, so Toad is into the boss corridor.
Kong got a really unlucky... well, it's not really unlucky, I guess. There's very few patterns he has, but Quickman, that's the very aggressive jump that he has at the start. There's the more... Like, that pattern he got for that second fight was much better, as you can see. It's like that high jump, and then he just sort of runs against the stair.
And that's the one you see so typically in Mega Man 2 as well. It kind of throws you off when he goes to the other pattern. Because very oftentimes in Mega Man 2, he'll just stand there and let you hit him 4 times, and everything's great.
There we're seeing Toad fight Woodman with air. Since he's playing on difficult, it's faster to kill him with air shooter than it is with heat, due to you have to hit him with 2 full charged heat shots on difficult, which is pretty slow because heat charges up pretty slowly. So air is nice because you can shoot it right through the shield and get double hits as well. So
and we see Kongcakes going for what a lot of people have called the easiest zip in the game, but I would push back just a little bit because you are on a moving platform. So, I mean, yeah, it's simple enough to set up, but you still have to have that extra little component to it with your setting up the item 1 there while you're getting pushed away from where you want to set it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really simple zips in this game.
Yeah, it's. I think it's mostly just implied like it's the easiest because it's like probably the easiest one to like teach somebody to do. Like if you've never done a zip before in Mega Man 2, that's usually the starting one that you want to learn. Just because the window with a B trigger and everything is just huge.
Right.
So. Toad coming to the end of his Mega Man 2. Almost into the sliding Mega Man games.
Yeah, you saw him pull ahead quite a bit in this game. Hung out just that little bit of trouble with Quickman, but yeah, Toad just really hitting his stride in Mega Man 2 here. And it is on now, as we say goodbye to Bubble Man, to Mega Man 3, top first route.
It's interesting choice for him because I don't think he's been playing top first for very long. I know he started with Magnet, so...
He started with Magnet about a little over a year ago, and then he rededicated in the month of May himself to really learning, like giving an honest effort to Mega Man 3, and then he went through 4 through 6 as well. So his knowledge of all of these late stage games is really coming from that month spent playing Mega Man, and that at that time Top Man had become the route to choose for top speed, and we see that coming to the front now.
I guess my concern would be is I wonder, because he only played it for a week, I'm wondering how good his muscle memory really is for the route as opposed to what he played for
it's funny
a few
how
months.
It's funny how a week is a little bit of a different amount of time for someone like Toad. I say I play something for a week, and it's like I never even played it. A week for him, that's like some serious reps in there. So I tend to think that he'll be all right, but we'll see what happens. A lot can happen when you go top first, that's for sure. So
yeah, it'll depend on how risky he goes in Shadow mainly.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's definitely a safer way to do it. It's just then the route's not really any faster, but I mean it's safer.
You see Kongcakes getting himself some good wood. Had a little bit of trouble with flashing through the dogs, so he had to kill that third one, but no problem there. Oh, he doesn't quite get over to the left ladder there, or the left fall off this ladder. It's always difficult to describe good wood, even as we're seeing it. As many times as I've done it myself, like, oh, no, he's just wrapping around a couple times and grabbing an invisible ladder, and then he's going to fall down. Looks like he didn't actually release his charge shot as he died, so he had to wait a little bit for that death transition, but no big deal there.
Toad just misses 3 cycles, so has to get an extra spin from Top Man.
And Woodman goes down very quickly. Kongcakes uses that atomic fire. One shot in Mega Man 2.
Normal is really nice.
Right.
Taking him out in one hit. Alright, so let's see how Toad does. The last screen of Shadow is really going to be the telltale for this route for him, to see if this is a good option or not. Since normally in all the other routes you have Magnet Missile for Shadow Man stage, that's really where the danger comes for top first route, since you don't have it. Parachute screen is pretty scary.
See Toad
it's
putting
a nice
down
right wall kill.
Yeah, very nice.
Kong getting out of first room.
Bitrate hell.
Yeah, he uses Buster actually, so he's still got plenty of item 1 here.
Yeah, fun fact, Kong hates frogs, so he finds it cathartic to kill those frogs on the first screen. So we'll see as he has his setup here. Goes for the A trigger. A nice safer way to do that.
Toad doing this really... So yeah, so
he's
Toad
gonna
is
be
doing this
really
screen,
safe.
Unfortunately, this is gonna be slower than any of the other routes. It's just... that's the risk. Like, if you're gonna go top first, if you want to actually save time with it, you have to play like a psychotic runner.
Yeah,
You go for jumps that you're just not gonna get consistently, which is the terrifying thing in a race like this.
Yeah, it's really something you want to. That inconsistency is exactly what you want to avoid in a race like this. One thing to do so. Oh, and he's out of top. He's got 2 hits left, 1 hit left. Oh, jumps over.
He didn't notice it at first either.
There he goes.
The scary part because he took an extra like 2 hits.
Right.
But he does get his kill, thankfully, and
Goodness
he's out of
gracious. Made us contemplate what might happen there, but no problem, as it turns out. And meanwhile, Kongcakes onto Mega Man 3, putting down Bubble Man.
A death to Shadow is interesting because the Buster fight is actually it's pretty fun. It is. Though, and if you don't know how to fight him, the fight can be very, very scary. Yeah,
the first couple times you do that, it's very difficult, and then you realize, oh, he's gonna either slide or use Shadow Blade, and if he slides, I don't want to have my back right against the wall. I want to have a little bit of a buffer to be able to jump over him. So once you put those pieces together, that you kind of crack the code for Shadow Man. And like you say, it's a fun fight, but not one you necessarily want to do in the middle of a race, for sure.
Yeah, and well, and then especially too, like if you haven't taken a death already, like you're usually not going to be high on health.
Right.
Like you've already taken a few hits from trying to use your top spin, probably, so you do have to be a little bit careful. Whereas at least if you get to fight him from scratch, you should have like full health. So.
Toad getting the Proto Man skip there, so goes for the zip from the Tadpole, doesn't quite get his head where it needed to, or actually I think the Toadstool, goodness gracious, I can't talk, Jelly. The Tadpole I don't think was quite cooperating with him there. I think it was a little bit lower than he wanted it.
He slid a little bit too soon, so didn't get his zip. It's about a 4-frame window that you can slide and get that zip, and looked like he went immediately, so he probably went about 3 or 4 frames too early. But it's still going pretty fast. It's not a really big time save. And he's going to take this extra health here as a safety, so hopefully...
He's going to pick up the phone and dial 1-800-R-Marine.
Not even bothering with the blocks. I've seen a lot of people just quickly just switch to Marine right off the bat and ignore the single blocks completely. This room is one of the more difficult rooms in the entire game.
Ooh, he just barely got back up before he ran out of Rush Marine. Oh my goodness, what a close shave for Toad.
That was really close. Meanwhile, Kong fighting Magnet now. Magnet is a really good choice for a first robot because he does take double damage from the Buster, just like Top Man. But you do have more RNG because he can jump or he can use his magnetism ability, so...
Toad's health now a little bit of a concern, but he gets to the second phase of Gemini, should be okay, no problem, puts him down. And it's on to Hardman for Kongcakes. Loves to get that E-Tank very early on in the game, and of course that E-Tank right in your path on Hardman stage as you go through past the Met Dozers.
Yeah, kind of a nice little bonus with the route, too. Like, especially for newer runners, that's why Magnet First is typically considered to be one of the more beginner-friendly routes. So it's kind of an extra benefit. Kong going for the despawn strats on the bees. Trying to save all the magnet he can for the boss, just to be sure. And Toad is into Needle stage. Needle's the shortest stage of the 8 robots. There are a lot of enemies that can actually inflict a lot of damage, or they're sort of designed that they have a lot of HP, so they're in your way to slow you down, so... He does get hit a couple times. Doesn't quite beat the Dragonfly. Kong into this dozer room, so that E-Tank you talked about, right there.
It's funny, because I think at this point Kong really doesn't ever need that E-Tank. He's got the Gemini fight down, unless he gets some real rough Noodle-a-Laser action going in Needleman stage. It's not an issue, but it's funny how runners can sometimes have that security blanket mentality when it comes to E-tanks. You don't necessarily need to use it, you just need to know that you can.
Mm-hmm. And Mega Man 3 is pretty forgiving too, like, especially with boss fights, like, the bosses don't really deal that much damage.
Right.
So. It's not really till Mega Man 4 that the runners have to be sort of careful about that.
And then they have to be very careful. Needle down for
Kong.
Toad and hard down for Kong.
Kong not doing the damage boost strat, so loses a little bit of time, but it's not a big one, just a little bit of time loss. Getting frozen in midair as opposed to taking the D boost and getting knocked out of that state. You do need a lot of HP to do that, so I think you need 13 minimum to survive it. So a nice benefit Toad will have here in Magnet Stage is he's got Rush Jet now for Magna Man. So the Yoku block screen now, compared to what Kong had to do of actually do the Yoku puzzles, he can just fly over them with Jet, so speeds these next few rooms up by quite a bit. Does fire that lag bullet though at the beginning of that eyeball screen. You actually don't want to do that. Costs you quite a bit of extra lag.
And that's the name of the game in Mega Man 3, is trying to do what you can to get through some really laggy parts and not to increase that lag. Of course, we see Rush Jet used here. You will see that foregone, certainly by Toad, as we get to some other parts where you could use it, but it causes lag, so he will not use it. He'll do some other strats, but as you say, faster here than just going over the Yoku blocks, because of course you have to wait for them to spawn.
The Mega Man 3 speedrun really, like you said, it really is routed in a way to try to reduce lag. You can lose so much time, like way more than you would actually realize to just lag in general. It's pretty nuts.
A quick fight for Toad, using that Shadow Blade to his advantage. The alternate weakness, and it's not even a lesser weakness, it's just as powerful as the Spark Shot.
Yeah, equal damage between those two weapons, so definitely a little bit better option since you can fire it upward. This top fight for Kong should be a little bit faster than Toad's just because he's got the weakness. Takes 4 Knuckles to kill Top Man. Ooh, Toad misses that last B, so gets some pesky insects flying around.
Looks like a little bit of a menu issue there. Of course, a lot of people have some struggles with the Mega Man 3 menu. I don't think that's what we saw there, but the Mega Man 3 menu is pretty unique in how you have to navigate it when it's not completely filled out. So that can throw some people off. I just think Toad didn't quite get the button press he wanted to get down to Rush Coil at first. You see Kongcakes taking on Proto Man here. Be a little slower than what you saw out of Toad. It's a little bit less practiced here, but still no problem with Proto Man. Onto the dark screen for Kongcakes. It's a mechanic we see throughout the series, the lights being turned off and the player having to know how to navigate the terrain, or having to turn the lights back on by killing a specific enemy. You see at the top of the screen there, controlling the lights. Sort of a similar design to the final room of Mega Man 2, where the alien projectile, or the alien hologram is projected, rather, and the little dome is at the top of the screen, turning off the lights and projecting a starfield. A little mini version of that here.
Yeah.
See Kongcakes now making use of that magnet missile. A little bit safer than using, or a lot safer actually, than using Topspin to go over those pits. We don't see Kong using the slides there. That can be a little dangerous as well if you're doing slide jumps. Not only do you have to work within that 8-frame window for jumping out of a slide, but you also have to avoid getting those health pickups. So Kong playing it safe, standing to, and just walking and jumping.
Yeah. There you saw Toad doing the damage boost fight I talked about on Hardman. Kills him a little off center. Ooh, and Kong getting a really nice center kill on Shadows, so... it's something you kind of want to do actually in Mega Man 3 and 4. You want to try to kill bosses in the middle of the room. Because the fanfare and Mega Man moving to get the weapon won't start until every boss death sprite leaves the screen, so... Actually kind of important. It's actually a pretty big time swing, like it's over a full second. Killing a boss in like a corner as opposed to in the center. So
Right.
You see a lot of these fights are actually routed in a way to try to kill bosses near the middle.
Do you know, is it just over a second if you're all the way to the right or left to get back to the middle, or do you know exactly how much time it is?
What part?
Like when you kill a boss, if you're like say you're on the far right, you said is
if
just
Mega Man's on the far right or
right?
the boss?
Yeah, if Mega Man is.
Like it probably depends on the room.
Okay.
Because some rooms.
Oh, that's
have, like,
true. Yeah, because you have to jump in like
different
Snake
levels.
Man's room and stuff. Yeah.
I've never personally timed how long
okay.
it takes Mega Man to walk to the middle, but I'm just talking about just like the
Right,
death,
just-
from death to like the start of that cutscene, so to speak,
Right.
where Mega Man would be in the middle. It's like I know in 4 it's about 70 to 80 frames, so it's about 1 to 1/3 or 1 1/3 of a second. It's quite a lot.
It's funny how even that aspect of it, killing a Robot Master, varies from each game to the next. You see it kind of become pretty similar from 4 through 6, but there's still a little bit difference. Especially like in 6, you want to make sure you have the bosses in the right corner of the room to save a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, like
you
5
wouldn't
and 6
expect
is
like
interesting because like the fanfare starts on it's like a timer. It's not based off of
Right.
like the boss dying itself. It's just based off a timer based on the time the boss dies.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter where you kill them. So you want to kill them, near the edges, because then more of those sprites leave the screen faster.
Kong almost having some trouble there. Wisely chooses to take a hit from the Dragonfly to make sure that he can get through the Penguin dispenser. And he's already switching to Rushmore. He's not even waiting until he gets into the water screen. He's like, you know what? Let's cue it up. Dial in 1-800-ARMORINE. Let's go.
Yeah, and he has the option to pick up a couple more E-Tanks here if he wants them, although once he gets out of Gemini here, he probably won't need an E-Tank unless he uses one on Needle, so picking one up here, and then maybe having an extra one for potentially Needle is all he really needs.
Well, he used one, so I'm thinking he might grab this one at the end anyway. It's pretty free to grab. You lose a little tiny bit of time, but it's right there. And it seems like that's his MO. And there he goes, grabbing it. He'll switch over to Shadow. You can negotiate that menu. Mega Man 3 menus. We see Toad making quick work of Snake Man onto Spark and his final Robot Master in Mega Man 3. Kong trying to rush the jump over the Stomper didn't quite get it, got a little short, and took some damage as a result. But he's pretty darn good at this Gemini Man fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just make his way through here.
Yeah, he accidentally fired a third buffer shot, and that's why he ended up trying to jump high early because the Stomper was going to be in his way, so instead of sliding directly into him, you needed to jump early. So that's sort of what was happening there.
Well, there we see Kongcakes using that E-Tank he just acquired and getting his health back to where he wanted it to be, and putting Gemini Man down without too much of a headache.
Yeah, Toad is actually coming to the end of his Mega Man 3 here, so he'll be heading off to 4 very shortly.
And here's a part that we talked about where he could be using Rush Jet, but he's not going to. He's going to have his Shadow Blade equipped, and he's going to make it through here without use of Rush Jet. Oh, he takes a hit there. No problem, though. As these little connector pieces spawn, they do not have a hitbox, so you can jump through them with impunity. And makes his way into Sparkman, saving a little bit of time over switching to Rush Jet.
Yeah, well, the screws do still have a hitbox. It's just the left side doesn't.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's the part that goes through Mega Man does not have a hitbox. I should say.
It's
yes.
really bizarre. Like the part that flies from the other side of the screen. It's kind of weird.
It would be very easy if you didn't know that to freak out and probably cause yourself to fall when you would have made it otherwise.
Well,
But
I
no.
think that's what most people are afraid of too
Right.
when they use jet there, is they don't actually realize that those left pieces of the screws don't have them. So Toad's off to Bright first.
Oh, and the
Oh,
lights have dimmed
misses
just a
his
little
jump.
bit.
Yeah, that's a pretty common death to see,
Oh,
especially
yes.
in Bright, for people who haven't put a ton of time into it. Obviously, Toad's only put a week into this game, so we're going to be probably seeing some rusts. And
That was in May, and there we go.
Yeah.
The green guy again, the fireworks
Yep.
shooter. Oh, and he's reset. He said, you know what? Down 2 lives on the first stage. Let's just get a clean slate here.
It's probably a wise choice.
Yeah.
Ooh, we do have a mist laser here too, so needle does go down. So we'll see how this first screen goes again. We've seen a lot of people struggle with Mega Man 4
Oh, yeah.
in this tournament. Toad taking a lot of time just to make sure he gets that jump this time. Doesn't want to take a third death. Good choice.
As a Mega Man 4 expert, what? Oh, no! And he looked like he wanted to deboost across those spikes there, but ran out of iframes, and it's back to the beginning again.
So the grasshoppers are interesting in that they kind of work like the platforms at the end of the stage, where if they're jumping and they're carrying you to the right, you can sort of run on the edge of them and you can't walk off of them. And then when they stop moving right and they start to drop, then you follow the spikes. And I think maybe that sort of threw him off. He wasn't expecting that, so
Well, maybe so.
didn't get his jump off the spikes.
I was going to ask you, as a Mega Man 4 expert, what do you suppose it is after the first 3 games that gives so many people so many troubles with Mega Man 4? Because it seems like, even compared to Mega Man 5 and 6, Mega Man 4 is the one that's more troublesome. So I don't even think it's just a matter of less reps on this game than on the others. I think
Honestly,
there's something mechanically, but I can't put my finger on it.
oh, it is. It is. And it's something that you wouldn't maybe necessarily think about until it's always like the first stages too. And it's the reason it's the first stages is because the slide in Mega Man 4 and 5 and 6 is longer than it is in 3. So slide chaining becomes very awkward for the first bit when you switch from 3 to 4, because you've been into that habit of hitting, your slides going boom, 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 boom. And then you hit the 4 and it's like boom, boom, boom. It's like just a different beat almost to timing your slides. And so getting your timing on slide chains and jumps becomes very awkward. You think you're gonna like get another slide and then you don't, and then you walk almost off an edge because you're then all of a sudden sliding from a lot closer to the edge than you would have normally if you had hit the slide right.
I see.
So like it's a lot easier to like mistime stuff at the beginning for sure. Once you sort of get adjusted to the movement, it's not so bad, but it usually takes at least a stage or two. Even for me, when I do multi-category runs, I come in and this is my main game.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It messes with you because the timing is just so much different.
That's one of the fascinating parts. Ooh, almost a double KO for Kongcakes there, but gets the last hit just moments before it was curtains for him. And Snake Man goes down. Meanwhile, over on Toad's screen, Bright Man goes down. It's like I already canceled that out, but I was excited for Toad to get through Bright Man after having a little bit of hiccups to start off, but he'll be on to Pharaoh next.
There's a really another minor thing that's different between 3
Yes.
and 4 that maybe people might not realize either. But this is more of an issue for people if they're not used to like 4, 5, and 6. If they're used to 3, I know a lot of main Mega Man 3 runners will come to 4 and struggle with their slide jumps because you can actually hang off of an edge for like an extra pixel or 2 in Mega Man 3
Right.
when you slide, and they take that away in 4. So if you're used to that, you may be like missing jumps at edges because you're actually falling off of them.
Right.
Because you're not jumping soon enough. So, I mean, that's sort of a little bit more of a specific thing.
Right,
But we have seen
scenarios.
that cause problems for different runners.
Sure.
But 4 has great control scheme. Like you get rid of like the silly things that 3 had, like the 8-frame slides. not being able to fire on the frame you like hit the ground, things like
Right.
that. Like they all go away, and so 4 really feels like a great game. They bring the Charge Buster in,
Mhm.
which I know some people aren't really a huge fan of. But I mean, it's a new thing that really just, I mean, it became part of basically the franchise.
Right,
You know,
absolutely.
9 when they took it out, but
Yeah.
even when they brought like the DLC with Proto Man, they brought it back. So it's really it's been in the game since this one, so they weren't going to get rid of it, I guess.
Of course, in Mega Man 4, you have the great benefit with the Charge Buster that taking damage does not cancel it. So you can take those hits, keep it charged, and get your shots in when it suits you. Got rid of that in Mega Man 5 and 6. Kind of a bummer. But, you know, each Buster even has different qualities to them. Takes a little bit long. The charging is a little bit weird in Mega Man 4 as compared to 5 in particular. 5 is super quick to charge. And
You're hitting. All right.
Go ahead. No, please.
Oh no, I was sort of Kong was.
Oh yeah, he's done with
scary.
3 on to 4, and we'll see how he handles Bright Man. He's going to start with Bright Man first for sure.
Toad's standing a little too far away from Pharaoh, actually, so this is a little bit better. Staying close is a better option. Staying further away from Pharaoh means that you're going to get a worse pattern, more jumps. He's more aggressive, so Toad not really manipulating him correctly there and gets a kind of a bad pattern.
I know you like to say that in Mega Man 4 you have that counterintuitive mentality where you want to tend to stay closer to Robot Masters than in other games.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Kong takes that same death that Toad did.
That is a brutal jump for sure. You have to be on point with your timing, otherwise that the sparkler shooter he's going to get you, that fireworks shooter.
Ooh, he misses him, so he's just going to blindly go for it. He does get his jump, so...
And here comes the bubble for Toad, or the balloon, the balloon for Toad, as he's gonna use that inside the wall, set up some very brief existing platforms, goodness, and make his way up the stages very quickly to start off Ringman stage. A very nifty strat, looks very cool, and it's a lot of fun to execute.
Yeah, the balloons are pretty useful. They're basically like the item 1, but they have a couple sort of benefits. One, you don't even really need to get to the top of them to land on them. The balloons will sort of like pull you up on top of them if you can just, barely get, a little bit into the sprite. And then the other benefit also, like you had mentioned, like you put it into a wall, as long as you can get, Mega Man to the actual like sprite disappearing part itself, you can jump off of it. So it gives you usually like a wall jump is usually about a 9 frame-ish window, so that's a pretty big window to hit a jump.
Right.
In speedrunning, we usually consider 2 to 3 frame tricks to be pretty easy if you can have a good visual cue to time them. So having a 9 frame window is, you can't really ask for too much more than that.
Toad taking that back damage boost there through the last little mini-boss with the rings. Does a little bit less damage when you take that back boost like that, rather than sliding through. So he's going to come into this fight with what appears to be low health, but knowing how to execute this pattern is everything for the Ringman fight.
Yeah, his health is still... it's not really... It looks like it's hard to tell from the screen that I'm looking at. It looks like 8. And yeah, he did get hit. So
yeah, he ran out of his Pharaoh, and in that transition, all the switching over to his weapon got a little bit of the timing mixed up and took that hit. So he'll have to refight Ringman now without the benefit of Pharaoh.
Now I don't know how much if Toad's put any practice into backup strats, so I don't actually know if he knows how to fight Ring. He's electing to buster him, which is also a terrible idea because. This is way slower than using a charge shot, so...
That is an interesting decision, not to go with charge shots here.
Yeah, like, this is going to cost him an extra probably 15 to 20 seconds. There, he's finally starting to charge.
And
Iframes got extended a lot in between Mega Man 3 and 4, and that's why bustering with lemons is a very, very bad decision in 4, 5, and 6.
We see
so
Kong...
Never want to do that.
We see Kong getting pretty low on his health as well, but turning the lights out for Bright Man, and it's on to Pharaoh Man for him. We'll see him try to get the balloon as well. Saving, what is it, about 9 seconds? Is that correct for getting the balloon versus going through the stage normally?
Oh, sorry, what was that?
What's the time saving to get the balloon as opposed to going through the stage without the balloon?
In just Pharaoh stage alone?
Yeah, just Pharaoh stage alone.
They're the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
there's no time save to get the balloon, really. Like, I would argue that
So the 9 seconds must
save at all.
The 9 seconds must come over the course of the run, then.
It's the 9 seconds you gain by getting the balloon are saved from using it in Skull and Ring stage.
Sure, there you go.
The actual execution of not getting it and doing the rest of Pharaoh stage is maybe about 1 or 2 frames faster. Like, I'm not even joking. It's that close. I watched runs where I used to run with like a video feed with my splits,
right,
showing like my PB, and if I missed it, I used to like go to the middle just to see how fast I could get there and see if I could ever beat it. And like, no joke, like the video would be teleporting in right as I was like crossing that point, sliding it. So like,
well, there you go.
They're basically identical. Unlike the Dive Man, where you get the wire and then it sends you back
that's terrible.
to the checkpoint, so you lose like 80 seconds or something.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Or not 80, it's
No.
you lose like 35. I think they said the tasks when they do the refight skip saves 80 seconds. That's where I was getting that from.
Toad making it look dangerous through that crusher section,
Squeaks
but gets
there,
through.
Yeah, Dust Stage is one of the more difficult stages of the 8 robots. There's a lot of... The rooms themselves are not hard, but you just run a risk of like having an input just not go off when you think it's going to, because of all the extra lag in like the lag room, and the crusher section is a little tricky, so you have to be kind of careful. Kong was manipulating Pharaoh. Now he's staying close now, so that's good. He stayed away there. There was a section there where he was like really far away in the middle, so he was getting kind of an unlucky pattern because of that.
Toad cleaning up in Dustman's fight and getting out of there onto Skullman, and we're going to see that balloon come back into play. See that zip? That hot zip action in Mega Man 4. Don't see it too much, but you got that one in Skullman stage.
Yeah, RTA-wise, there's only really 3 viable zips, one of which isn't really used because it's slower than doing not the zip. That's the one that's in Dust,
right?
Crusher. And then there's 2 zips in Skull, but we only usually see people go for the one because it's a lot easier than the second one.
We see Kong getting trolled a little bit there by that initial turret, as you see so oftentimes. Going with Bright here, a little bit a safer strat, I would say, than going Balloon. You can take a little bit much damage if you're not on point with your Balloon climbs. But that first turret placed that shot right in the middle of the ladder, knocking Kong down. But he's back up and going. We see Toad using the balloons here. This time that first jump over this barricade enemy here. And he's going to just pick up the big health that's in the stage. Just to reset himself a little bit. Keep on going.
We'll see when Kong goes there if he elects to use the balloon or not. I like to mention, actually, when... I think in my tutorial I made it, sort of tried to, like... I really tried to discourage people from picking that health up, because if you're going to do balloon strats and you're going to go pick that balloon up, you basically just lost everything that you're saving with it. So if you're going to do that, you might as well not even be doing the balloon strats. You might as well just go with flash stopper strats the whole way. That's the big problem with Mega Man 4 is a lot of the strats that are a little bit faster and stuff, if you don't execute them well, you are really just losing time to like just the slightly slower but easier strats.
Right.
So you really have to like decide. It's like, am I willing to risk, am I confident enough to do these strats and willing to risk, time loss? Like even something like the Pharaoh strats that are in Dust, they only save a half a second to the flash stopper strats, and that also requires you to get good luck from the stomper.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he jumps short and hits you, it's slower. So it's like it's so silly. Like some of the things you have to do in this game to try to go a little bit faster and save frames.
And we see a lot of runners backing off some of those in this tournament in particular, because again, you know, trying to mitigate any disasters that might happen. And in that particular screen, you know, you said that Dustman stage is the toughest in the game, and you know, that's one where you want to avoid any possibility of things going sideways.
Yeah, it's not a sprint, that's for sure. This is a 2-hour-ish run, so you got to be in it for the long haul. Kong actually got that kill on Ring pretty tight there. The last hit, he shot that little Pharaoh shot right about the same time. Ring was actually throwing a ring at him, so kind of just getting him right before that shot went off.
See the underwater sliding now by Toad, trying to extend that flash stopper. Cannot jump immediately out of slides in underwater in Mega Man 4, so Toad has to play it a little safe, especially as he approaches these spikes underwater, but no problem so far, as Kongcakes now using the flash stopper to make his way through to that screen that we were just talking about here in Dustman. Oh, and he stops the action a little too soon, so the stopper's still hanging out on the ground, and he has this ladybug to deal with. D-boost off of him, makes it past. And we'll see maybe a few extra time stops as he goes through this screen than you might see otherwise, but as long as you make it through, that's really the goal here.
It's not too critical. Like, you don't have to be worried about your ammo.
Correct.
You're just going to be switching off of it typically anyway after the screen. But
oh, and so we have some action here. Toad looking for the wire. And when you walk through the garden, you got to watch your back.
So
yeah, there was
time lost by going all the way to the bottom.
Hello, Karopi. And meanwhile, Kongcakes getting that Eddie Bro action there, getting that E-Tank, but oh, he stays under that second to last crusher section with the blocks, and it's a game over for Kongcakes, in fact, so he's going to have to start dust over again.
He actually got his slide, but he hit the blocks from the third row, and so it stopped his slide, and then he got stuck there. Too bad.
Not using Bright after this game over right now. I don't know if he has forgotten that he game overed or what his thought process is behind this. But yeah, just going with Buster through that first screen. May just want to... Yeah, having switched to Bright here, it looks like maybe he just wanted to save his Bright for the second screen?
Maybe. Maybe he was concerned too. Like, I don't know. He might have just forgot. Replaying any kind of part of the stage, sometimes it's easy to forget like what you have. And if he did forget that he game overed and regained all his ammo, he might have still been thinking he only had one use of flash stopper left.
Oh, and the game overs continue as Toad gets torpedoed by Dive Man, and it is back.
That's a pretty rough one too.
That is a rough death.
That's a pretty sizable time loss, about
it
2
is.
to 2.5 minutes, depending on how Toad... Well, with the wire, he definitely lost 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, but now he's got that wire, so no matter what else happens in the run, he's got the wire, so look out,
try
world.
To use it in every single stage.
Obviously.
I mean, why else would you grab it?
There's no reason. I mean,
if I don't see him use it at all, I'm going to be pretty annoyed.
I think it's actually like you can actually two-shot every boss in this game with the wire. I believe that's true.
I've heard that Dive Man's weakness is the wire.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
he's often above you in the stage, so you have ample opportunity to use it.
Yeah, shoutouts to Baron Haynes for pointing that out to me. Pretty sure Baron was the one that brought that to my attention. Actually, if he wanted to be a real cool guy, he would go get the wire again.
Well, I mean, naturally. I mean, you know what's better than one wire? Two.
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
A lot of our runners may not have read the fine print in the tournament sign-up, but actually, if you get the wire, you automatically win your race. So, congrats to Toad.
Oh, well.
I mean, it was right there. Just people, overlook it. They
gotta read that stuff.
Gotta read the fine print. That or the energy balancer in Mega Man 6. You get the energy balancer, you automatically win. An item that I, honest to God, did not know existed until like a month ago. And I like nominally know actually how to run Mega Man 6, but that's all I know about Mega Man 6 is the any percent run. So I did not know that was a thing.
I found it in my casual playthrough, and I didn't know what it did.
Yeah, that's the other part of it.
I had no idea. And Toad actually gets the animation skip there. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, makes up for a little bit of that time loss. Not quite enough as he would have liked, but it's
Saves
still
a little
pretty
over
cool.
a second, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kong is actually bustering this screen. If he is going to play through the rest of the stage with Flash Stopper, he's better off to just use it here.
Right.
But again, if he's worried about using too much, he might be trying to save it a little bit.
It's so funny. I think that's the chief mentality of anyone who's not familiar with how to speedrun a particular Mega Man is don't use items because you might need them down the line, so you don't want to run out too early. And of course, then you end up not using anything. You just use Buster, and it costs you more time than it would have to just use the items in the first place, even if you had run out of them. So, yeah, it's funny how that old childhood mentality is really hard to get rid of, even among speedrunners that are seasoned like these two. Oh, no! Kongcakes going to slide and jump off of on that that's second to last screen, where he's using Bright Stopper and does not quite get that jump out of the slide.
I would almost say that I don't think he actually intended to slide there.
You know what? I bet you're right. You see that so often.
To just jump, and he accidentally was holding down.
Yep. You know, you rest your thumb on the right or left button, and you think, oh, it's just touching that button, no problem. Press A now. Nope. Time to slide.
Yeah, sometimes, and depending on the controller too, sometimes it's pretty easy to catch, just barely catch like a diagonal and whatnot too. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that happen a few times already.
One of the more frustrating deaths to take in this tournament is that I meant to jump. Why am I sliding? Death.
That being said, I think I would rather take that over controller disconnects, which is another thing we've also seen happen in the tournament a little bit.
Yeah, well, and then of course we had that power issue with Big Zeef early on, where he just like his hardware stopped working and he had to switch in the middle of the race to emulator, which is one of the more bizarre things probably the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in any race.
Yeah,
that's Mega Man or otherwise. That was crazy.
Toad getting a pretty decent pattern from drill. Yeah, that's a really good example of that. Mega Elixirs and Final Fantasy games.
Right.
Stock those babies up, you never know. So Kong actually has made up quite a bit of ground so far on Toad in 4. We'll see if he can make good on that and get through Dive without that game over that Toad had. We may see quite a turnaround here. I mean, Toad clearly was, practiced up in his 1 to 3 a little bit there, but 4 looking a little shaky, so who knows what we're going to get from 5 and 6.
That's true. Anything can happen still. Don't get it twisted. We still have we have a about 3 stage lead right now for Toad, 2.5 stages, but it doesn't take much to turn the tide in a race like this. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel that it's less likely to see it change much in 5, just due to usually you have lots of 1-ups. But 6 will be interesting because, like we did mention, Toad put a week into every game. Toad only put 2 or 3 days into 6.
Right.
And cut it really short. And the reason I know that is because Papat was kind of unhappy that he only played it for a couple days and was hoping for more. So I really always wonder what it'll look like when Toad gets to 6 because, there's the inexperience in a game where you can't jump out of your slide is, pretty scary depending on how slow or fast you want to go. So we'll see when he gets there, but he's into his last room of 4 here, so almost out of the woods and into Mega Man 5. 5, not a whole lot of difficulty with regard to like deaths necessarily, but I mean, there's a few places that are a little scary, but you usually have plenty of lives. And
it's funny how those lives can sort of really curtail what you want to do. Particularly if you start running out of, if you were to mess up the Crystal Warp, you run out of all your ammo, and then, oops, I have 15 lives. I can't game over quick enough. So you have to...
really... I always feel that that's the real danger in Mega Man 5. Like, it's not so much the deaths that are punishing, but it's the not having... Because so many of the stages require the super arrow.
Right.
And so when you die, if you die after using arrow and are sent back and have to replay a screen that you had arrow for and now you don't, it's terrible. You lose so much time to that. So, like... 5 is an interesting speedrun in that regard, in that, you know, some deaths are much more punishing than others, so... and then again, too, the first thing people have to watch out for in Mega Man 5 is this low-gravity physics in Starman stage. So Toad has to be careful, especially like right there, even not to bonk onto the spikes when he jumps. Some of those little hops are a little scary.
I have to say, Toad's acquitted himself quite well through Starman stage. You can always tell, like, it's very easy, very distinct in Mega Man 5, even more so than perhaps some of the other games. Not just with the use of Super Arrow, but how often you slide. That's really the telltale throughout all the sliding Mega Mans. If you see a runner sliding a lot, you know they know there's stuff in that game. And you see Toad making effective use of sliding, knowing when to get his charge shots off, not getting them canceled, and making his way into Starman stage. Or we'll see how many of those shots he gets to go through the shield there. See one right there pretty early on in the fight, and yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's got it down. Kongcakes making his way through the final screen of Drillman stage, using that flash stopper to great effect. Avoiding taking damage. Well, he gets a boulder in the mush right there, but avoiding taking damage, avoiding these enemies getting in his way as he turns these platforms on and gets into the corridor. Starman goes down. Toad teleports out. And it's on to Gravity Man for Toad.
Yeah, going to Star is really key here. Like we said, getting the super arrow is really important for the other 7 stages. And then you've got basically 7 stages after that just follow the standard weakness order from that point on.
Oh, Kongcakes getting drilled by old Dive Man number 2.
Ooh, yeah. It's that 8 damage from boss contact.
Yeah.
Thankfully, with regard to this fight anyway, you have plenty of dive missiles, so there's no real danger of ever running out of this weapon.
One of the tremendously frustrating things, at least speaking as someone who's not as well versed in Mega Man 4, is when you get that last shot left and he has literally 1 health when you're using all dive missiles. You're like, come on, just let me hit you one last time.
And Kong is actually, again, similar to
there
the
it
Pharaoh
is.
Man fight. Similar to the Pharaoh Man fight, Drill will give you better patterns if you stay close to him.
Right.
So Kong staying further away is getting more dives than he should be, typically. So kind of, I'd like to say kind of some bad luck, but in a way it was not necessarily all bad luck.
Right.
There. It might have been some manipulation that gave him some bad pattern.
Some unbeknownst to him manipulation.
Yeah. Ooh, Toad does miss a hit on this gravity fight. This fight is exactly the same every single time, so there's no randomness there. Ooh, misses another one. A little bit of time loss here. Yeah, some unfortunate struggle there for Kong there and Drill, so probably is going to lose a bit of time back. But I think he'll still come out on top of this game if he can get through Toad here. Ironically, Toad, the game he's in, is the one he's done the worst in so far.
Right. And also, I think it's not befitting a runner of Toad's caliber that Toadman would be the boss known as Toadman would be named after him. It's such an inconsequential boss.
Getting a slightly laggy arrow here, but still faster than playing the room without it, so. Ooh, doesn't quite get this set up. Looking like he's gonna do it from the health here instead.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, sometimes when you're riding on those arrows and you try to shoot with the arrows, since there's a little bit of delay in launching the arrow once you shoot it, your arrow that you're on can get there first, and then you get knocked off your arrow. So Toad having to go to a backup there, but no problem. Gets under Stomper enemy. He is on to the falling block section. He's going to avoid getting the letter, but he's also got to avoid these enemies as they fall on his head and not go too far, getting extended into these falling platforms. No problem for Toad. On to the auto-scroller as Kongcakes switches games on his EverDrive. It's on to Mega Man 5.
Yeah, the arrow's kind of interesting too, in that like if you have an arrow on screen that hits an enemy and ricochets off, then it actually becomes a projectile that can knock you off of your current arrow that you may be standing on. So
oh wow,
runners have to be sort of careful of their setups and make sure that that doesn't happen. Like if there's any enemies that have invulnerable places that would, you know, reflect arrows, we see that actually in it happens in Charge Man stage every once in a while. We see it happen in what do you call it, napalm in the checkpoint room as well. So something that the guys have to be careful of if they're trying to set up the arrow. You want to make sure that even your arrows that you're jumping off of to set up the final one you eventually ride, you want to make sure those ones are still accurate as well, because you don't want them knocking you off somewhere. On getting through this sort of more scary room of Star with the low ceilings and the spikes.
And now,
boost.
Here we go. On the left side of your screen, Toad... Oh, that's right! I forgot. Toad doesn't go for the Crystal Warp. He's just going to be playing through the stage.
So, yeah, if Kong goes for a Crystal Warp and does it correctly, he'll gain at least, you know, it's like 9 seconds saved on a really good crystal.
Right.
So obviously he'll save actually even more time than that.
Yes.
Depending on if Toad has any problems.
So far, so good for Toad. Yeah, using that super arrow to great effect here. Switching to Rush as you do. So you don't often get to see these stages in the 46 Draw Master Tournament. So many of the runners have adopted the Crystal Warp. So Toad's showing off a little bit extra for the folks watching at home.
Yeah, I think we've only had to see like 1 or 2 people actually play the stage, and that was because they ran out of arrow and didn't want to arm. So it's a little bit more rare, but it is still faster than, you know, going for the warp and then failing it. So
right. It's funny, Toad was asked, I believe right before his first race, are you gonna learn the Crystal Warp? He said, no, I'm just gonna do the stage. So he's sticking with what he's learned in that month of May for the rest of these games.
Yeah, the setup for Crystal Warp, to be honest, the setup for Crystal Warp was never really a thing.
Right.
Like, Crystal Warp was like a thing that people would only joke about because it was so hard to do. It was ridiculous. It was frame perfect to do, and you skipped the letters, so you had to play the game beatless, basically. So nobody really did it. In fact, like Polari is really the only person that ever does it, and he actually has a faster setup for it, where the delay between death to respawn is about I want to say it's under 40 seconds. It's a slightly faster setup, but it requires no super arrow. Obviously, you have to do it without it. And then when Baron put some time in and found the arrow setup for it, and it just became super easy to pull off. It was like, well, it just became the obvious choice for everybody to do because it's so much faster than doing the stage. And now that it's like completely easy, like with the setup is so consistent, it's like, why not?
Right.
Like I remember talking to Darkman about it actually, because he said sort of the same thing that you're saying Toad said here at first. He's like, oh, it's like, it'll take time, and I just rather just do what I'm good at and consistent at. And I was trying to explain to him, it's like, no, it's literally that easy.
Right.
Like, it's so simple to do.
It's funny when you're a runner of a game and you become very very set in your ways. You've put all this time and effort in. You're like, no, this is the way I should do this. And then something comes along that all the people who are picking up Mega Man 5 really for the first time through the tournament are like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this. Look at this. Look how much time this saves. This is great.
Yeah.
And you have a couple people holding out like, no, I should, I know how to play the stage, so I'll be fine.
Yeah. You still have to get the inputs in, so I mean, it's not free or anything, but yeah, if Kong gets it here, he'll save. On that stage of Toad's, he'll probably save about 15 to 20 seconds on Toad easily, because Toad had a few mistakes. Oh!
Yeah, well, but there's, as you say, right there.
Kong! Or Toad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not quite getting that D-boost, and now has to replay this terrible room.
Yeah, it's not a good one. Two of those
this
big
terrible
missile
room
shooters.
Without arrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he almost took another one. Trying to take, like, those back D-boosts, but not quite. Actually getting hit. He doesn't have any more gravity, so he's actually taking D-boosts here. It might have been better to actually go for backup using the Crystal Eye strats. He is switching to it now.
Right.
But he could have made that previous room a little faster, maybe.
Oh, came close to that missile there, but gets through.
He's just gonna, he's gonna take his time a little bit.
He is being careful at this point.
Yeah, normally you would try to go under all these guys, but yeah, with one death already, he's probably figuring there's no reason to risk it again. He's not gonna get the full napalm fight, but he gets about half of it correct. And misses his last shot, but the crystal bounces around to get napalm for the final hit.
Kong making his way through all the difficult parts of difficult in quotes parts of Gyro Man's stage behind him onto the fight itself, where you get to use gravity hold very, very effectively. Put him down very quickly.
Yeah. Going into his Gyro Man fight. Typically one of the larger RNG fights of the game, but with his weakness, since it hits the entire screen, it's actually the easiest fight of the game. So we'll be seeing Kong go off to Crystal and very likely be doing the warp. Meanwhile, Toad is in stone. This stage is one of the longer stages of this game for the 8 robots. There's a lot of screens that you have to sort of remember and execute. Ooh.
And now we will
He
see
shoots an extra arrow there, so I'm not sure where he's going to take one out. He's still firing that one there, and so he's gonna actually be low on arrow. Okay, no, he's saving it here a little bit. He was gonna shorten that arrow up, but then never even got on it anyway.
It didn't look like Kongcakes had it at the exact right height, and indeed shoots that super arrow at not the correct pixel. So he's got a.
So he had the arrow on the right height.
Did he move?
Moved forward.
Ah, there it is. There it is.
And so didn't set it up correctly, unfortunately.
Now he's just going to go through the stage as well. So we get double crystal stages. A little treat for those of you who have become weary of the crystal warp and its 43-ish seconds of nothing.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
I didn't actually see how many lives he had, but that could be a situation there too, where...
He's got one extra one.
Okay, so that wouldn't be too bad if he chose to do that, but it would cost him more time than if he has a decent Crystal Man stage. He would not have to bother with that game over to set up the zip again.
Mm-hmm. Not even arrowing over this room either, which is really not a fun room to play.
Oh, it's especially not fun when you take too much damage.
Yeah, these crystals deal a lot of damage.
Oof, and that's a rough checkpoint to go back to the start of the stage.
Yep. At this point, you know, I would almost just take another death and get your arrow back.
He's got a super arrow out. It looks like he's going to try something. He might have just enough. You need...
So he has enough to do it, but if, you know... So the arrow, every 5 frames you stand on it, the arrow will drain 1 energy. So he has to do this setup very, very fast.
Oh, he gets a lucky drop though. Oh my goodness. He gets the energy refill. Gets set up.
Wow.
Oh my good. There he goes. Oh no! What happened? Oh, he didn't kill that first ball and cup enemy. But he should have now enough energy with his super arrow to do this. Oh man, this became really tense.
Oh man.
Oh, and he just game overs. He says, "You know what?
Yeah.
Let's give it a clean slate here."
Yeah, this trick, like I said, it's not free, but it's not hard. So
it's easy, but in the heat of the moment, because there's precision to it, you can make that mistake, and then each subsequent mistake compounds and makes you a little bit more off the edge there.
Yeah, if you're starting to you need to really focus on the inputs, because the inputs are not free. You can't do A plus Bs. You actually have to hit B to A. You have to roll B to A, because it's very important to fire the arrow on the height that you're standing on. There, he's got it.
There he goes. So we'll see Kongcakes in about 43 seconds. And we've seen that a couple times throughout the tournament. You know, people just not quite executing whether they jump, whether they move on the arrow, you know, whatever little minor foible they have. It's just going to ruin their day for that zip, or that zip, warp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Toad probably gaining back the time he lost there to dive there, so he should be sitting a little more comfortable again, even if he has some issues in 6.
And now everyone's favorite, the Power Stone, is out. Oh, we mistimed that a little bit. Didn't get that hit, so... He'll use the pause buffer strats to eliminate the Power Stones from the room. Of course, when they're on screen, you cannot fire a second one, and they take kind of forever to go off screen. So you see that pause buffer strat to clear the Power Stones on screen, get another shot in quicker. Down goes Charge Man, and down goes Crystal Man as well.
Yeah,
Toad getting the better of that exchange as a couple of missed attempts on the Crystal Warp befall Kongcakes there.
Yeah, about a 3-stage lead now. Just Wave left for Toad. Wave is the longest stage of this A-Robots. Even the top tier runners, it's still a 3-minute stage because of the auto-scrollers and basically there's no way to speed up the sections like the auto-scrollers and the bubbles, so you're sort of limited to the speed of even the small bubbles that you use to skip the larger bubbles. You still are limited to the speed that they travel at.
Let's see what strategies Toad uses here. Looks like he's trying to... Yeah, it looks like he's trying to use that super arrow to get up and over, but he thinks better of it the second time around and ride these bubbles.
Yeah, I mean, it's slower, but he's got enough of a lead at this point that I don't think he needs to panic too much.
No.
Missing that strat is... I don't know, can cost you... Depends, I guess, on when you miss it, which bubble you fail, but it can cost you quite a bit of time. So
it's up and over the boat for Toad as he walks off the screen, and he'll have to come back on before gets to the mini boss. He can avoid soft locking by doing that. Otherwise, you can soft lock actually like this. And I believe it was either you or Fatso that was explaining how you actually have to move over while in the air or while sliding. I believe that you can't just walk.
You have to jump back into
Right.
the screen. Yeah. But you won't have a sprite by doing that. So
Right.
yeah, it's
a
kinda weird
deceptive
how it
streak.
works,
Yeah. You just have to know what to do and not get yourself caught out on a no man's land there. As long as you can do that, you save about a second.
Low. Yeah. Baron figures it's maybe about 2 or 3 seconds, but yeah, that's for a long time. That's what he was saying, was about 1, but he thinks it's a little more now. Probably due to the fact that taking your sprite off the screen can reduce lag as well.
Mhm.
So Toad did have the M tank from doing Crystal Stage, so I think that's what he just used there, which is a good choice because you want to have health for Wave Man, because using Charge Kick on him usually implies that you're going to take a few hits since you have to be going through his hitbox. So almost forgot he could slide, but he remembered halfway through that room. So here he is coming into his final fight of Mega Man 5, and then he'll have 1 game to go. It is worth noting that even if Toad wins this race, Kong will be advancing.
That is correct.
We don't know yet where he'll be seated till he's done this race, but he will be advancing with, if Toad wins this one, with Toad, so not a ton of pressure here on him. It's kind of like a nice little free run. He can go over it. He knows what he's going to probably want to practice after this, so it's kind of a nice thing to have in your back pocket, you know, not have to be worried about being eliminated.
Yeah, anytime you can reduce the pressure in a race like this, it's very easy to psych yourself out. So getting rid of that, knowing you just have to focus on the task at hand, very nice for these runners. Of course, they don't seem too terribly concerned about the pressure right now. I think they both understand what the stakes are with this, and
Yeah.
they're just having themselves a race, and come what may. We've seen a couple of unfortunate situations befall both of the runners throughout, but doesn't seem to get them down. They're just plugging along as we see Toad start with Windman stage in Mega Man 6, the final of these games in the 46 Robot Master Race. Kind of a shame we don't get to hear the music. That's true throughout, but I'm very partial to the Mega Man 6 soundtrack in particular.
Yeah, 6 is a pretty good soundtrack. You can already see Toad playing it a little bit safe. Like he had a pretty safe improv room, and he's going to get this 1-up and health here just to make it, give him that extra 1-up is actually kind of nice, because 1-up drops are obviously not as high in 6 as they are in 4 and 5, so picking that 1-up gives him a little bit more of a buffer in case he does take some unfortunate deaths. Like we said, you can't jump out of your slide in 6 anymore, so this game, movement-wise, feels, especially to newer runners, feels very clunky.
Mm-hmm.
So you get sort of used to it. It takes a while, but once you start to get a feel for the cancels and how you can do them, then it's not so bad.
Now onto the fight with Windman. Of course, you see Toad sliding while he charges. You save about a frame, you do save a frame when you slide while you're charging in Mega Man 6. So get a little bit extra time back for his charging of his Buster. Puts Windman down as Stone Man goes down on the right side of your screen.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see who bothers to go for the slides to try to reduce frames. Because I found that when I started to learn this game, it just wasn't worth going for. Like, if you see the sprite where you can see Mega Man has a charge shot, if you're waiting till you see that anyway, you're wasting time trying to do it, because you actually need to be firing before that sprite even appears on screen to make use of the slide dance. So it's such a weird thing to see people try to do it, and then knowing how it works when I watch, sometimes it's just like, it's nice to see that you're trying, but it's not, really not working. So it comes down to a lot of timing. Like it's such a frame saving strat that like you would only see like a record holder really need to go for. But you do a lot of sliding in that fight anyway, typically, just because Wingman does like to do the ability where he pulls you in, and so you slide away from him with that. So like even if you don't go for the slide dance, you still typically you still will cut down a frame or two of your charge. But ooh, Toad is gonna light this pit, so he's gonna have to take the cloud platform across here.
And the pit is already gonna be lit down below as well when he gets into the next screen.
There'll be at least one pit lit in the last room as well, yeah. It's the one that'll have the two platforms, the two tile platforms. Be this next one right here. Yeah, there it is. These flamethrowers can be really nice, or they can be jerks. Toad's getting some pretty good luck because they're kind of ignoring him, but getting bonked by the spiny. But yeah, they can be pretty mean. They'll snipe you out of midair if they want to.
And again, we see double boss corridors. Despite being separated across games here. Staying somewhat in sync. And of course, Kongcakes now having to use his Power Stone. So we should see Toad get this kill before Kongcakes is able to. Just a slow fight using the Power Stone against Charge Man. Indeed, Toad does it, but not as much of a distance as I expected.
And he gets that nice right wall kill as well, so that's a good kill location to make him in 6. It's really ideal. Six stages to go for Toad. He's really should be looking to the end here now, which is nice. And Kong almost finished with 5, so he'll be into his final game here fairly shortly as well. So not a huge gap between these guys really, but we've seen much larger gaps in the tournament between the runners by this time. So
oh, certainly. I'm interested to see. The matches that I've restreamed and done commentary for, I don't think I've seen massive lead changes. I saw that one where there was a hardware malfunction, but that was in Mega Man 2, so there was a lot of race left to go. Has there been any that you've seen? Have you seen like a late game lead change or a big lead change that you can recall?
Not huge yet, and I don't think we're going to see that till maybe potentially the bracket anyway.
Right.
Like the pools, the way you get seeded into a pool, obviously there was one fairly good runner, then one sort of average runner, and then 2 other runners that were either new or still sort of in that average range as well. So we did have some close races, but I don't think we ever saw a race where there was a big gap and then a switch.
Right. Yeah, for the most part, things have gone as expected throughout this tournament. A couple of upsets, I suppose, but really nothing completely crazy just yet, besides, a couple of weird issues befalling some runners that, outside of gameplay. But now as we get into the knockout round, we're going to have to see runners pulling out all the stops in some cases because they know that it's win or go home, and that's when you do that, you never know what could go wrong, or what could go right even. So it'll
Toad
be
getting that bossy Blizzard pattern.
That's right.
Toad actually got a fairly decent pattern from Blizzard. He didn't actually take full advantage of it because ideally you want to get to the right side of Blizzard as soon as the fight starts, because then the roll is shorter. So he got snowflakes off the beginning, which is perfect for that because you can get a hit in and you can deboost and go through him to get to the right side of him without taking too much damage. But then he did get, after the 2 rolls, he did get a kind of a mean pattern where Blizzard skis into you. You can get that sometimes with low health in that fight, which can be pretty scary, but...
Now it's Plant Man stage, where I suspect we are going to see at least an attempt at plant forms coming up.
At least one?
I believe we will.
Alright. Yeah, this is definitely the hardest stage of the 8 robots.
Ooh, the double
springs...
KO for Kong, it looks like.
Ooh.
And tie does not go to the runner in the case of Mega Man 5. You really only get double KOs in Mega Man 2, so...
Yep.
Yeah, he's got to get back in there, and he has less charge kick now, so we'll see how he handles this fight.
Yeah, he should have enough, as long as he... Okay, good.
Yeah, he's got to play it safe.
As long as he doesn't waste any in the hallway.
Ooh, his health is already pretty low, though. Oh, my goodness. He's in lockstep with Wave, gets that last hit before he gets his... And it is on to Mega Man 6 for Kongcakes. Whereas he is just hoping to see it, and it'll be interesting to see if Toad does go for plant forms, because that's just the sort of mistake that is going to afford Kongcakes a little bit of time to get back into this if he does not successfully execute.
I feel like he will, because he's saving a lot of flame in that checkpoint room. He didn't kill almost any of the grasshoppers, which is really not ideal. So
right.
He got a lot of extra lag, and he took a bunch of extra damage. So
we'll see. Well, here we go.
He's about to,
his health is there. Yeah. He tried for it, but then he realized, my health is very low. All these little pibbly health pickups are going to do me in, and it did. So I suspect he will now back off of that, not only because he doesn't want to lose any more time, but also his flame is a little bit lower than he'd like it to be now. He could switch to the power suit and get those pickups at the end of the screen he just passed, but he's going to not do that. And now he has to fight the Gorilla Golem without fire, which is no fun.
Oh, man. So he probably should still menu to flame here. He had flame for it. Flame does 4 damage to almost everything in the game, and so since that guy has 24 health, hitting 24 shots in on him as opposed to just 6 is quite a bit more of a challenge. So
yes,
but yeah, we're seeing him just go with the opening the platforms this time.
Oh, that jump looks so scary. Of course, Mega Man 6 has those edges on platforms that can be very unfriendly to runners.
Yeah, you can definitely get jumps in 6 here where it looks like you can make them, and then you'll just get clipped off, because technically, even though those springs are rounded at the top, they are still a square in shape. So you have to actually land further than you think you do sometimes to make the jump. You can actually get clipped off of edges, but typically on the springs, that's usually the issue, is you think you're jumping far enough, but you actually aren't. He does get the walk, but he only gets 5 hits in on it, so finish it off with a couple hits. With regard to version differences, there's not a whole bunch of differences when it comes to just the 8 robots. The only really big difference would be Mega Man 2, because Rockman 2 is quite a bit faster in weapon gets than Mega Man 2 is. Mega Man 3, it's a really, really minor difference. It's like really small things. 4, 8 robots are identical. 5, I think 8 robots are identical. 6, honestly, a lot of it ends up being the opening, because in Rockman, the Rockman games, they don't show like the copyright screen. They only show like the Capcom screen, and then it starts to go into the game. Whereas in like the Mega Man games, it shows like the copyright, then it shows the Capcom. So it's like an extra screen that you have to go through as well.
Right.
Most of the difference between like the later games like 4, 5, and 6 come in the castle stages.
Right. Of course, in Mega Man 6 Japanese version, you don't get to see Fail D, so it's the inferior version, really.
It's true. Well, and that's actually in 6. 6 is the one sort of difference too, where they're actually the same, from what I understand. Anyway, that's what Pot Dot has told me. I've never actually timed it, but I'll believe the record holder.
Right. That's what he wants you to think.
Yeah, exactly. They're apparently the exact same in time. So yeah, why not play the one that gives you failedy?
Because you have the cart, and you don't have the NES cart. And damn it, you want to use the carts!
Oh, Toad. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing too. Like, even just having the carts is expensive. Like, Mega Man 5 is,
oh my goodness. 5 and 1 are
$100,
stupid expensive, yeah, for NES. And 6 isn't much better, as I understand.
Yeah, I think I paid $60 for my copy of 6.
Yeah, that's...
So, it's not a cheap one, but I had gotten more use out of it than I have
of course.
Any new
Yeah.
game.
Well, Kong had a little bit of trouble with that flamethrower there, but he actually gets the D-boost onto the flame, so he's able to jump back up.
The double snipe.
And Toad finishing up White Hat's favorite stage. Putting the chopper on Tomahawk Man, and it is on to Yamato Man's stage.
Yeah, 3 stages to go. Yamato being probably the easiest of the 8 robots as well, so...
So we'll see him surely die to him.
Yeah.
Now that you've said that.
Yeah, honestly, in Mega Man 6, like, 6 is a speed run. Like, Wind is a real... I like Wind. I know some people don't care for the stage, but I actually really like it.
I think it's fun.
Flame is my favorite stage.
Right.
And then you hit Blizzard and Plant. And, I mean, Blizzard's fun, but it's got some difficult strats. And then Plant is, a little bit harder. Once you get out of Plant, it's like, okay.
It's a sigh of relief.
Because Tomahawk and Yamato are typically considered to be the easier of the 8 robot stages. So it's like a nice little break before you hit Knight and Centaur to finish off your 8 robots. So I would say definitely, like, getting through the first 4 robots is usually the hardest part of Mega Man 6. Once you're through them, I mean, you're not home free, but it's definitely feels a lot better.
Yeah, you definitely relax a little bit after that. You got that jump in Nightman stage, but, at this point in the race, I think I definitely know that these 2 runners both know where they are relative to one another, so, Toad can feel comfortable giving it an attempt or not, and know that it's not really going to affect the outcome one way or another, that individual action. So, yeah, after Plant Forms, it was all kind of, just be cool, and then make it through. Speaking of being cool, we're on Blizzard Man stage on Kongcakes side. Not using Flame Blast right now, so using a little bit more time using Buster strats, but it's getting through.
Yeah, and Toad's going the only...
He slid there on purpose to refill his health, and he's gonna get that Death Warp that he didn't get last time.
Yeah.
That super consequential Death Warp where he slides a platform ahead.
You move like 2 tiles forward. We did actually see, so Toad, in the Yamato stage, you actually take the only time you ever take an alternative route. The last 4 stages of Mega Man 6, assuming that you go the Windman route, so Tomahawk, Yamato, Knight, and Centaur, they all have an alternative path. And each of those paths gives you one of the beat letters. But unfortunately, obviously in 8 robots, it's not necessary. And even in the normal speedrun, it's not necessary either. Beat is a lot worse in this game and not very useful. He doesn't deal damage to bosses like he does in 5. And he uses a lot more energy in 6 as opposed to 5 also because based on how much... he'll one-shot anything he hits, but based on how much HP that enemy had that he one-shotted is how much ammo it takes away. So obviously it's pretty not overly helpful since a lot of the enemies in castle stages you just take out with the other weapons anyway.
Right.
The menus in 4, 5, and 6 are a lot slower than 1, 2, and 3. So
yes.
A big issue with the later games is if you're going to have to menu to something, it needs to save you quite a bit of time because it has to make the menu to be worthwhile. Toad, unfortunately, doesn't quite get his jump over that little pit. Takes a death at the spike ceiling.
And his second time, he's just going to wait it out.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of runners actually struggle with Knight and Centaur. These 2 stages at the end have actually been... It's very common, actually, that we've seen some deaths from people here, so not really unusual to see one here from Toad. Knight has a lot of spikes, and Centaur has a lot of kind of tight jumps around spikes and pits too, so that's sort of why I think if people don't have a lot of good muscle memory built up for those jumps, it's pretty common to see 1 or 2 deaths. Spear is an interesting weapon in that depending on what your ammo count is, your spear will arc either upward or downward when you fire it. So you can kind of actually use that to your advantage and manipulate the spears to hit enemies in places that might make it more awkward if your ammo was on the other direction. These mad nerds in this room are a good example of that, but Toad's just going for the standard strat. Oh,
and he slides off looking for that jump, but it's Mega Man 6.
He missed his Raiden. Yeah, he slid too far to the right he started his slide too far to the right, and so he didn't come out of it in time. Yep, gotta cancel those slides or the game will not allow you to jump.
It's funny because it almost looks like you could slide off of one platform down to the lower one, but you cannot in that room, and yeah, those spikes are unforgiving, as you'd expect in a Mega Man game.
That's an actual like valid point to bring up, because in Mega Man 3 and 5 you can slide across those gaps.
Right.
In 6 you can't, and in 4 you can if you get a good sub-pixel. So like you never really see people go for those slides in 4 and 6 because obviously you're just not going to get them. But in 3 and 5 you do. So when a Mega Man 3 or 5, like primarily a 3 or 5 runner comes and plays like 4 or 6, you actually see them like take deaths in those places sometimes because they forget they can't actually make those jumps.
Kongcakes opting against attempting platforms, gets through the screen just fine, and he's on to Blizzard Man. As Toad is fighting Nightman. Some people, and by some people I mean Kongcakes, think is a master of karate for some reason.
Knight can be kind of a tricky fight with Buster, but you see Spear goes right through his shield, although Toad did run out, so he's going to have to finish the fight with Buster.
Yeah, by virtue of taking that death.
Yeah, gets a good luck pattern, though, and Knight stays on the ground. Knight can be kind of jerk and jump all over the place, but he gets a pretty nice pattern. So 1 stage left for him. Should still be sub 2.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to be coming in a little bit above an hour and 58 minutes. Looks like it's going to be just under a 1:59 if he stays on pace right here.
Yeah, Centaur stage is about 2 minutes and 2 minutes 20-ish, I guess. Depends on the person. Toad not going for the Metroid boost or the Miracle Jump. No need to, really. He's just going to take his time, go through these rooms. I don't think there's really no reason for him to worry about anything. I don't know. I don't remember what his life situation is right now.
Well, he's died at least twice.
He's got one. He's got one.
Okay.
So even with a death here, he's still fine. And arguably, I would say he could take a game over. And
I think he'd be okay. Yeah.
He's got quite the buff right here.
His Night Crusher game is on point right now, going through this underwater stage. Gets the jump up over the turret, no problem. He's finishing strong.
Yeah, there's really only... Well, there's this room here, but there's really only like one more room after this room that could potentially give him an issue. So waits it out here to make sure that that water ceiling has enough to get him across the spikes. Gonna deboost through these Roland type enemies. And so this screen here is sort of like the last place, I would think. So if he can get out of here, he should be set.
Oh, Kongcakes getting that lucky ammo drop there. He had run out of Flame Blast on the second Met dispenser, but gets it right back.
Toad takes a little bit of extra time to get a ladder jump. Ladder jump time saves are really minimal. They save about 11 frames, which is about 1/6 of a second, roughly. So if you miss it even once, it ends up being slower, but we've seen a lot of runners, out of principle, go for them just because they want to do at least one.
Right.
I think Fasta in his last race went for like 4 or 5 ladder jumps throughout his run. He does get a teleport here. Let's see if he can... Okay, just one teleport. That's not too bad. Only about a couple seconds lost, so...
Oh, and in fact, at a time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 46 seconds on RaceBot, Toad is your winner.
Yeah, congrats to Toad. He really needed that, honestly, because that does give him his second win to move on. So that will mean we should have the 20 runners who are going to be moving on figured out here.
Yes, we will
show those off here after this race, so that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
It seems like it's a lot longer than it actually has been. It's only been 2 weeks since we started.
It really hasn't been.
We have gone through so many races. It feels like much longer than 2 weeks, but we've crammed a lot of action in here and on Speedruns Live to get to this point in the tournament. And now we'll be moving on to the knockout round of the tournament. In the next few days, it'll be 1 week to complete each round going forward until that semifinals and finals round, and then that'll get a little bit more time to breathe there. But yeah, we have to adjust the scoring on challenge before we officially advance everyone. But we have all the times recorded. We'll just do a quick numeric swap to make everything, all the seeds play out the way that they are intended based on the race results, and then that will be updated. Challenge is not the most user-friendly site in the history of the world when it comes to speedrunning reporting, but we can make it work, so we're going to do that. But congrats to Toad, going 2-0 in his pool and advancing on. And Kongcakes, congratulations to him as well, going 2-1 in his pool, also moving on. Updated while we watch Kongcakes close this out.
We'll have to see where Kong finishes once this time. He's only got 2 more stages to go after Yamato here, so very, very shortly we'll find out. 2 stages left.
This is, in fact, our last race of the pool play portion of this tournament, so there will be no more races today. There will be no more races probably for a day or two, as the folks in the opening round of the knockout rounds will be scheduling all of their races. So stay tuned for more information on that. But we will show off who is advancing at the conclusion of this race, as Kongcakes closes this out, trying to get a time here.
Just 2 stages left. Again, Knight and Centaur a little bit tricky, especially for some of the newer runners. Kong just sensing that he doesn't have enough speed to beat these spikes, so he's just gonna wait for them again. Take a couple hits here.
Not yet switching to Yamato Blade. He's gonna use some Buster to get through here. A little bit slower that way, but what he's more comfortable with.
Yeah, spears are really nice for that enemy too, because they do go right through his shield, just like Knight's shield.
Yeah, that was another thing where just learning this game through speedrunning, it didn't occur to me that Nightman is normally a more difficult boss by virtue of his shield blocking any projectiles, but use Yamato Spear, goes right through him, and he dies very quickly. Very easy fight with the intended weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Kong thinking about that E-Tank, but he says, you know what? I'm probably good to go for the rest of the run.
Yeah. Yeah, not a whole lot left to go here. Just gonna take out these mad nerds. Not even gonna bother sliding there. As he comes into the final room of Nightman stage, the bouncy castle room. Trying to avoid these spinies at the same time.
And here we see that Yamato Blade being put to effective use here. Just has to wait for the iframes. 60 iframes for these Robot Masters in this game. Big step up from the 8 in Mega Man 5. You just have to be a little bit wise about your weapon usage to not waste it, but no problem there for Kongcakes, as it's on to Centaur Man, Centaur Man, Centaur Man, Centaur Man.
Yes, the final robot.
And the final robot of this group stage of the 46 Robot Masters Tournament. We will capture Kong's time and give a refresh to the challenge, and we will show everyone where we are at with all of the folks moving on out of the groups.
Yeah, this has been a great start to the tournament, for sure. Sad that we have to say goodbye to half the participants, but I think we're in for some really good races in the near future. Into this last water room here. This room is a little tricky just because of all the spikes. We've seen actually a few runners just elect to take hits off of enemies to go across the spikes with iframes, but Kong powers through without doing that. He's not afraid.
Sticking with his Buster here, not yet going to Night Crusher. We usually see folks, if they don't immediately go to Night Crusher in that first screen, go once you get to that water ceiling, but Kong going to play it a little safer here, or at least relative to what he wants to do with Night Crusher, not run out of it. He's going to play it a little bit close to the chest here and wait until he gets into the fight, it seems, before he switches over to Night Crusher.
Yeah, I don't know what he got from Eddie there, but see if he menus what he's got in his inventory. This is a really, really late change to Night here. Just gonna buster the whole stage.
There he goes.
Into his last fight. almost forgot to slide in the corridor there.
And with an official time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 21 seconds by RaceBot, Kongcakes taking second place in this race. Still advancing on. And if I can just get this updated real quick, we will see where everyone stands. 2:07:21 is the official time. Oh man, I hate when it does that. Right. So let's go ahead and bring this up real quick on the screen. Or real slow. There we go. Okay. Oh my, the colors have changed it. Okay, let's... I have to change this on the fly. 1 second, folks. The chroma key is a little bit different since they changed over all their stuff. There we go. Alright. So, 46 Robot Master Tournament. Why does this look weird? There we go. Alright. Oh, I see. Okay.
I have all the on the schedule, all the seating and everything is now done too.
Oh,
if people
fantastic.
want to take a look at that as well.
You know, I'm just going to do a different window capture because this is, I don't like, apparently I said this window capture to be much smaller, so I'm going to make a new window capture here. Yeah, window capture is fine. Yep, that's good. Why? Why is that still on there? Okay. Anyway, at long last, here we go. There is your information about everyone who is on there. So we see in your group A, Nero and in quotes Mega Fan X, who is actually Kazes, who is a late entrant replacing someone who dropped out. So Kazes moving on along with Nero in group A. Group B, as you just saw here, the final race, Toad and Kongcakes both moving on. Group C, Primal and Hypa moving on. In Group D, Baron Haynes, one of the favorites in this tournament, as along with Avalon Star, Mega Man 2 runner who's jumping into this tournament. Group E, the surprise entrant Becco Red, and Cassio Third jumping on there. Of course, Becco Red, tough to seed him, so a little unfortunate for Mr. Cav, didn't get to advance as he had a great showing. I think both of his races were 155 or lower, so it's a little unfortunate that he was seated with Becco Red, but you know, Becco coming in with just a little bit of knowledge of Mega Man, you'd say, but picked up the other games that he wasn't familiar with very quickly and advances on in the tournament. Group F, Colonel Fatso and Mazimov moving on in that one. Group G, my group, Dargo and me, I'm moving on as well. I had a tough match with Too Good, but I was able to eke that one out. Group H, another favorite, Prissy, as well as Dark Terex, Mega Man 6 runner, set to move on there. Group I, Pot Dot, and Darkman. And then in Group G, it's a little bit Beef Watson's name too long here, but Beef along with Fast at CC, your top 20 advancing on to the knockout round of the Mega Man 46 Robot Master Tournament. 10 Toad playing some TurboGrafx. Oh no, he's hosting Infinite Mystery. Okay, well, which is also Sega, so not TurboGrafx. So, Shelly, with that, I think that's a wrap for this group stage. And I think for our stream, anything else to say before we cut here?
If people want to actually see like the seating and how it's going to work for the bracket, if you go to, so I put up there, if you go click on the link that would take you to the schedule, there are 4 tabs on this Google Doc at the bottom. You can see the schedule list, the matches not scheduled. Don't worry about those 2. The 2 that you might find interesting, you can check out the times. It has all the race times between the different runners of the pools and what their average times were and the records. But if you click on the last tab, it shows the seating for those 20 people to move on. So Prissy was going to be seated here first. He had the average time of a 1:44.04, which is just an amazing time for an average for 3 races. So congrats to him on taking the number 1 seed in this bracket. And you can check out the all 20 runners and see where they're going to be situated. If you know a standard sort of playoff bracket, what it looks like, obviously. This one looks a little weird because we've only got 20 members. So you can check that out on the challenge as well once we get the runners in there where they all should be situated. But yeah, that's how they finish. So yeah, congrats to you 20 guys. It's going to be interesting to see how you do in the upcoming single elimination brackets. So it's a one-shot deal. If they lose a race, they're out. So it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. And we will begin scheduling those matches over the course of this week. So we will have many, many more races coming up right here on twitch.tv/speedgaming. Until then, I'm an enemy. Thank you so much, Chelny, for joining me for commentary and all the commentary work that you put in so far. I'm looking forward to what's coming up. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be good.
And we'll throw some love to someone in a link in chat. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you in the knockout round right here on the Mega Man 46 Robot Masters Tournament. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Later, guys.